All eyes on the White House today as President-elect Donald Trump meets in front of a burning fire to shake hands with President Joe Biden. That moment starkly different from 4 years ago when Trump skipped the ceremonial meeting with then President-elect Joe Biden. But here, looks like they're making nice. The two seemingly exchanged pleasantries in the Oval Office. They shook hands, nice fire there glowing. Here's a listen.
Mr. President-elect and former President,
thank you.
Donald, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And looking forward to having like we said, smooth transition. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need. And we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So
Good.
Welcome
Thank you
back.
very much. And thank you very much. And politics is tough, and it's many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much. A transition that's so smooth, it'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Joe.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
And with that, reporters got their questions. We can tell you right now that meeting continues. You see the president-elect signaling the current president over his shoulder. They are now behind closed doors working on all of that. This is all kind of a victory lap for Republicans today. The Republican Party, led by Donald Trump, rallying around Mr. Trump and his vision for the next 4 years. Donald Trump now will get ready to go back to Florida, but he is still in that meeting as they prepare for the peaceful transition of power. Semafor politics reporter Kadia Goba breaks this all down for us. Kadia, this was really a tradition. It speaks to that peaceful transfer of power, something that Trump did not afford Biden when he was president-elect. But what's the significance here?
Well, I think it shows that this is a new administration. The incoming administration is a little more savvy than they were in previous years. We'll see. But I think this was a very different approach than what we saw 4 years ago when the, former president didn't attend the inauguration of Joe Biden. So it was very interesting in a big round of big visits around the Capitol today in Washington, D.C.
If those walls could talk. We also just got this breaking news that Senator John Thune will replace Mitch McConnell in leadership for Senate Majority Leader. This was a secret ballot vote, and some people wondered if Donald Trump really wanted Rick Scott out of Florida, who vowed to really make things go fast by way of Donald Trump's picks for his cabinet. Those confirmations, listen, we could see those hearings circumvented by a little-known rule and something that's sort of a technicality in the Senate. Does this vote, picking Mr. Thune instead of Mr. Scott, really show the Senate trying to regain some semblance of power in the face of all of that?
I think so. I think many of us talked about the Senate being very different from the House and the executive branch not being able to wield as much power over the Senate. I think it speaks volumes that former President Trump or President-elect Trump did not actually intervene and endorse a candidate and kind of let it play out. The vote was quite close. There was a big outside campaign for Rick Scott, but he lost in the first round, which left it between Senator Cornyn and Senator Thune. Ultimately, Senator Thune, who was Mitch McConnell's number two, eventually won the election.
All right, so let's go from the Senate over to the House. Several seats still not called, but CBS News at this hour characterizes control of the House as least Republican-leaning as those ballots get counted, but it is not called. So why the move ahead there in the House with a vote for the House Republican Conference Chair? Take us inside that, because we understand that's been a little bit of a battle.
Yeah, so there's all indication that Republicans will retain power of the House, which will give Republicans a trifecta in the executive branch and the legislative branch. Right now, President Trump, President-elect, visited the Hyatt Hotel earlier this morning and, very pronounced an endorsement for Mike Johnson, who some of the hardliners were sort of pitching this shadow candidate that they put up against him. That doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. We'll see within the coming hours as those members of the House vote. Again, behind closed doors in a secret ballot. But the race to look at is the chair, and that's between two people, Lisa McClain and Kat Cammack. Many of my sources that say that McClain is leading in that effort, and simply because they felt like Kat Cammack did not do enough to back President Trump. So we'll see where that lands. That vote is going to come out around 2:30 later this afternoon.
All right, 2:30 Eastern time, we understand. We also saw something interesting getting headlines. Elon Musk going with the president-elect to the White House today and also going to sit down to meet with members of Congress. Does this signal how big of a role Elon Musk, the billionaire, will play in the Trump administration?
I mean, no one can say. We don't know if he's going to have staying power, but as of today, I think you could say that he has somewhat of influence. I can say that we spoke to some members at the Hyatt. He did not talk to members at the House, or he was not, at the podium set to speak to members. So I thought that was interesting. So at this point, he just seems to have the president's ear. We don't know how long that's going to last. We know he has an appointment to look at, how they can cut government spending a bit, him and Vivek Ramaswamy. That'll be interesting. This is something that was handed down by the president-elect. We'll see how that plays out.
All right, and more on Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk and that commission a little bit later in this broadcast. Kadia, thank you so much for joining us today.